Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land. Magical, magical land. To another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
It's so good to see you. What a cool window you have there in the background. Hold on, my Zoom, it's all jacked up. It's switching every time I talk, and I can't stand that. So hold on.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Okay, now that's better.
How's it going? I'm super good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me more about super good.
I mean, loads of things happened. I don't know when did we talk last time? It's like ages ago, or
yeah,
feels like.
Yeah.
No, I'm now in Germany, running my own company with 5 different businesses, having a lot of fun every day.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
So, I mean, I have a holding structure where I've one is a holding company, which is the stuff you see officially, which is like the innovation coaching business. And then I have a software company where I'm building up a software to help people to coach. And I have an event company together with Dennis where we build kind of executive retreats for innovation mindset shift. Then I have this reverse mentorship business, which will be a spin out into a separate business. And I have a t-shirt hoodie business, which is my own branding stuff.
Which I want one. I want a white one.
A white one? Like this one? Wait.
See, you ask and the universe
it's there.
Goes, hey, I'm gonna have this show up through Jens. A white sweatshirt.
You need to give me your address and I will send you one.
It's gonna be so hard to get to me. You're in Germany and I'm in LA, but I guess there is the mail.
Yeah. I'm just sending a t-shirt to my co-founder of the software business. And he is in San Francisco.
Okay. So it's about coaching. Okay. I'm excited to hear about what this is.
So so one thing is the coaching business, which is a separate thing. Then what I have figured out is basically you can build a tool. So let's start differently. So I'm using a visual way of coaching. So I'm like talking to you, and normally if I would be in front of you or with you in the same room, I would be drawing and using canvases to help you understanding what I mean and help you to dig into that. And this I have built into a digital whiteboard. So I'm using a digital whiteboard when I'm coaching you, and it's all about innovation coaching. So I've built a framework which is called the Applied Innovation Coaching Framework, which helps you to reorganize your business from A to Z and figure out how innovation works with your business, but it also helps you as a leader doing that. So it's like both, it's a double-edged sword. You can work with you yourself as a leader, and I coach you on a leadership perspective, like more personal, which has then an impact on the business logically. That's basically a framework I have built up. And that's what I'm coaching with visual tools. So now comes the fun part. What if I can build a tool that helps you to do, let's say, 50%, 60% yourself? So imagine there's a tool which is a mix between extreme version Salesforce and Siri.
Yeah.
Like Siri, and you have a personal virtual assistant who helps you to get to a certain level.
Is it an app?
No, it will be more an enterprise solution. So it's the main focus of that. I have 2 different angles, and we're still prototyping. So one is more corporate settings, like how can you use that and empower your organization to innovate, and then the other part is how can you use the same tool as a coach to help an organization. And there will be something like an app as well, but that's then more going towards like, hey, I'm using it to help myself. And we just got last week the first visual prototype of that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear from you about some of the questions you're poking at, such as why coaching instead of consulting?
That's a good question. And that the main thing is empowerment.
Most of us have our own answers, and it's exposure and execution that, you know, cause what you're looking for. I mean, consulting, I've been both, you know, so it's a fascinating, I think there's a need for both, and it's a very, I would say I heavily lean on coaching now as opposed to consulting.
Yeah, same with me. It's more what I have seen coming from a large corporation, that it's often like consultants come in and then it's, they're trying to stay as long as possible and help you, but it's like worst case they're leaving and the knowledge is gone, and then the people don't really know what to do with it. So now, for me, my focus
is a bill. Yes.
So my whole approach is on how can I empower you as an organization, you as a person, to repeat and repeat and repeat and learn while doing that, which is not really the consultant's focus, because they try to stay as long as possible and support you with bigger packages. For me, it's like you as a person will empower the next person, which will empower the next person. That's why I'm more focusing on coaching. And it's not the worst red ocean to be in. When you focus on coaching as a niche, but then narrowing it even further down to do innovation coaching, which it's not like what everyone is doing. There are a lot of innovation consultants, but less innovation coaches with that angle.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, because what you're saying is reminding me of the last couple of years. I've done a lot of work with in the sales cycle in Saudi Arabia, and you know, they're doing a lot of huge, you know, they're building a city called Neom, which is this massive happening and all this kind of stuff, right? But anyway, a lot of who we've been engaging with are giant, they've hired consultants to basically create all this. Yeah. And now it's like a huge wall to get through, because they spent a fortune on it. So they're like, well, we have to do with the consultants. Since they're so invested in it, there's no one actually making decisions, was my experience, from what was the best fit. Is really fascinating to be able to look from the outside in on that, you know. And of course I want the best for everyone, so it was like, wow, you know, it's just fascinating to be an observer, and grateful for not being in it. You know, it's like I know I've been there, and it's really challenging when you have such an investment in consulting to, you know, it's hard to fade out or have anything happen that doesn't walk away when the consultants leave, like you were saying.
Yeah. But what else is going on in your life?
Well, you know, it's a really fascinating time, and I'm the past 8 months have been such a blessing, because I've gotten to really focus on being with my son, and he's absolutely thriving in school, and, you know, he'd love to be around his friends and all that stuff, but so we've gotten a lot closer, and it's been just fun and an adventure. And I've been, you know, the virtual reality business in location-based entertainment has been on this crazy roller coaster this year. And with mostly, you know, not a lot of volume, not a lot of people willing to put something on their head in this time. Some people, but not a lot. And so it's been really a time to get back into coaching / consulting, I would call it, and really do some work that I haven't done for a long time in business strategy and project development and all this kind of stuff. So I've been doing quite a bit of that. And it's been so fun and refreshing. And, you know, it's, I'm doing a lot of inventing things, I can't say a lot about it because of lots of NDAs and this kind of stuff, but I'm back in sort of an innovator creator seat, and it's very fun. It's very fun. And, you know, I'm attempting to come with sort of a, no judgments about what my capacity is and just be really freed up to contribute. And I found that to be incredibly, like, it takes a lot of courage to be that way and to say whatever comes to my mind kind of unfiltered, because that actually really contributes to what I'm doing. So I feel really free, and it's fascinating because I don't know, I haven't done it more before. And maybe I have, but it just feels really like I'm laughing a lot, you know, and laughing, you know, the people I'm working with, we're just all laughing a lot because we're willing to go there, and it's really refreshing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And what else am I doing? I'm walking a lot. I've been doing sprints, which are killing me because I'm trying to get faster at running.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I've been eating differently, which is so, like, I feel really good. It's really, it's just been a really great time to get back home and create home, as I've always wanted to do when I'm working like a lunatic without sort of being grounded, you know? So now I feel very grounded, and I'm able to live the life that, like, I think I've always wanted to live. So it's really and listen, I'm super blessed. So I don't want to look back and poo-poo anything. And right now is terrific. And I'm also present that there's a global pandemic, and of course empathetic, and really, you know, we're in quite a hot mess. And so, you know, trying to stay home and be responsible and be a contributor to the phasing out of COVID, hopefully. So.
What did you change in your food? Like, what are you eating? What are you not eating?
Well, I basically eat nothing processed. And I found out I have a pretty severe casein and wheat allergy, which I had no idea about. And so I basically, for breakfast, I eat oatmeal, like steel cut oatmeal and blueberries. For lunch, I have a salad. And for dinner, I have some beans and salsa. Like, that's what it's looking like at right now. And it's great. I feel really good. And I drink a ton of tea, and, you know.
Is it mainly plant-based, or? Yeah.
Meat doesn't work for me. And it's not because, you know, yes, I love animals, but it's not about that. It just doesn't work in my body. So, and I've always been like that. So even if I've eaten meat in the past, I just don't feel that good, you know? So, and I really haven't gotten into the processed, you know, meat substitutes. And I'm sure it's delicious. I've had a couple of freaking, you know, Impossible burgers that I would have sworn were meat, you know, a year ago or something. And, but I really have gotten away from anything processed. So with this, like, newsflash about the allergies and stuff, I don't know, I shifted, and then now I just feel really good eating that same stuff all the time because I feel good.
Yeah, that's the most important part.
So,
But are you then when you're doing coaching and consulting and inventing, is that still in the virtual reality world, or is it somewhere else?
Some of it is, yeah. So I still have, run a business that distributes virtual reality experiences to family entertainment centers and location-based entertainment. And so I still do that, and I coach people who haven't opened their businesses yet, because it's really been a roller coaster in that world, in my experience. Where it started initially, it's been like all over how to make money, and stay alive for some of the people that have been on the ride for a really long time, has been a case in innovation, because the speed at which you're willing to innovate is what will cause success. So, and what I mean by that is there are, the traditional business variables that will have you either stay alive or not. And so the consumers went from, it kind of went from, I'm going to play this cool VR experience by myself, connected to a strap in this other world that was very immersive, to now I can play the same game with lots of my friends in a wireless situation where, I can play anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, or go into an escape room, or, it's really, it's fascinating because the tech of virtual reality has come a long way in the past 4 years. Like, it's really moved quickly. And so sort of the rate at which people are willing to embrace that, because the costs aren't astronomical like they used to be, right? Like when we started out, I don't know, 4 years ago, so sorry. When we started out 4 years ago, it literally, one station was like $50,000 or $60,000. And now it's down to, with Oculus, for example, you can jump into a Oculus headset for $500 and, be on your way kind of deal. And so but it's the kind of content that has really driven the market. And so not so much the tech once it got below a certain price point. And so content is king, as usual. And so the willingness to really adapt to that and to appeal to specific types of content and grow your demographic and all this kind of stuff is really important, and what causes success. And so, I feel super blessed to have been able to, again, be witness to people who really knew how to adapt quickly and steadily, and had a team that was willing to implement at that kind of fast pace and really buckle in for the ride on that, in that type of environment. So yes, I'm still coaching and working in that capacity, but I also, like I said, have kind of expanded beyond that for now.
Yeah, but I imagine there's quite a bit difference on, especially with the physical spaces like we have been in when we have been in Sweden in this gaming center.
Yeah,
I guess at least here where I'm in Germany, it's like that's not allowed at all. Everything is closed down. So is that the same in the US? And is that then making a shift towards more home-based solutions, or is it not that easy as I would think of?
Well, unbelievably, Europe has been open for a number of months. Like the pandemic hit, and then the numbers went down and the centers opened. And there's very stringent cleaning processes within centers. And so most centers I know have embraced those. And so it's probably cleaner than most things you're doing, right? So then there was a spike in volume. And then when the second wave came, it like kind of shut it down. And then there was another sort of opening. So it's like I said, it's been a roller coaster. And I feel like the volume in Europe have been higher. The Midwest in the US seems to have been a little steadier, but not now. Now it's really shut down at the moment. But you know who has been open throughout most of this is China. And so, you know, not so much Macau, but China has been, mainland China, has continued to kind of do well throughout, you know, since, I don't know, April or May, maybe May or June. But, you know, it's been interesting. In and of itself is fascinating to see, you know, throughout this time, like who has been open and who hasn't. And I can see it's fascinating because there's lots of consultants out there saying, oh, places are open and all this kind of stuff. And I can see the volume because I am on a platform that goes across hundreds and hundreds of centers, or maybe thousands, I don't know. And, you know, there has not been a ton of volume compared to usual.
But isn't there a movement towards like more, how can you apply the same way of thinking towards home? Like how can you help people to do something similar in a smaller setting at home?
Absolutely. So what I know some experiences are, games are doing is they are having a consumer-based offering that then later on you'll be able to literally take into centers, so that it's more of I can bring my toys with me from home into a center and have a heightened experience, right? Because if you think about it, like a place in the US, it's Dave & Buster's, and you know, there's lots of different chains that carry this kind of stuff. But when I go there, I want to have a premium experience of virtual reality. I don't want the same stuff that I have at home, right? And so, so that is the opportunity to be able to, you know, have a consumer-based experience that's great that I can then take to and take someplace that has I guess I'd call it a premium offering that I can either bring my tools with me or, you know, at least I can gain some skills at home, and then I can bring them to a place where, you know, they have a different version of the game or whatever it is. I haven't seen that put into play, but that's what I've heard in all the sort of circles that I'm sitting in. That's what I've heard is the direction is. So we'll see. I don't know. We haven't been open here for, you know, I'm in LA, and I haven't been to a VR. There were a couple, when was that? 4 months ago that were open for a bit. But, you know, everything's been closed around here, so I haven't been.
It's interesting because when you talk to other business like retail and so on, everyone is kind of struggling, and some are taking this as an opportunity to change completely. But I mean, that's maybe slightly different to virtual reality because it's already like a future technology, and it's digital. It's just the application of it is different. So if you do this in a center, the quality might be way higher than what you can do at home.
Yeah.
But I just talked to Justin, a friend of mine who is in Starbucks, and they have they did the test like doing like Zoom meetings like we do right now in a virtual reality setting. So he was saying that was quite weird because it feels like you're in the same room, and it's way more real than on a 2D setting. It's quite interesting, but it's
So one of the projects that I'm working on is a VR meeting room, basically, and it's more for classroom. Also for meetings. We've done some meetings. The company, you know, hosts meetings in their own platform. And it's pretty cool because you, once you get over the tech, and it takes a couple of meetings to get comfortable in the tech, right? Then you realize you can really expand what you're up to in these meetings. You know, it's kind of like watching a movie together and not physically being together, but as immersed as you possibly can be without, you know, reaching over and touching someone. So yeah, it's really, I think this is with VR, I really do believe that education and training and things like this will expand it more so than anything in the entertainment field, because it is so valuable to be able to be immersed in an experience that is very lifelike, right? So, and my son is 13 and he has the advantage of me having all this fun VR stuff. And so we have a lot of educational experiences that to him are like a treasure hunt or an adventure, and it's fun, so I really hope that it impacts education, because I think, especially here, we need to reset. And I think we are in the process of resetting for sure. So, I think that's where the biggest jump in virtual reality will be, is education and training.
To that point, what do you think needs to happen to make that happen?
To integrate virtual reality?
Yeah, to make it like mainstream, that every school has the opportunity to do it.
Well,
if you go that far.
Yeah. I used to run a nonprofit that was a after-school mentoring organization, right? And honestly, the thing that made the biggest difference is when you have, when whoever runs the school or makes the decisions decides that it's going to happen, it happens. And so when the decision makers they get it, and they get it in a way that they're willing to take action. So it's not just, oh, this looks like a really cool solution, it's so much fun, or I had this great experience. They really, it's open, enough possibility is opened up that they're willing to act on it. And when that happens, of course, the execution has to be in a way that it's easy for people to integrate, right? But it's really about the decision makers choosing it and then having a strong integration plan. And
that's the difficult part.
Yeah, that's the part. That's the part. If you have a strong leader who is committed to innovation, to adapting and really going the distance in terms of the integration, then you're set. And if you don't have that, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
I just see it with basic technology topics. Just like I'm now back in Germany since 13, 14 weeks from Denmark. Yeah. And it's so different. It's so different. It's like, how is just that? Crazy. I wasn't expecting that's that hard going back to Germany after, what was it, 5 years outside. It's quite interesting to see that, like just basic things like people paying with cash. I haven't taken money out of an ATM the last years in Denmark and in Sweden before, because you don't need cash. So that's just right. These things, and that shows a lot how Germany is. They're very good, or we are very good in like coordination and making everything safe. But when you see how slow things are when it comes to digital things, that's crazy. It drives me so mad. Like just a couple of examples. Insurance, health insurance. In Denmark, you are getting a number and everything works automatically. Here, you need to send a letter by post to get access to an app, which takes you like more than 6 weeks to get access to an app, because they approve it via post. They send you the password via post or via mail, and that it's ridiculous. And then they're like, you send something via email, they're answering you back via post. So you get a letter which says, sorry, you have sent this in via email. Could you please send us this and this and this again? Because they're not allowed to come back via email because of security stuff, data protection stuff. When you then come from Denmark, where everything is like, they can see it, it's in the system, it's registered to your number, and everything is in It's so hard when you just see this, and when you work with innovation, you think like, oh my God, we're one of the most wealthiest countries in the world, and we can't manage this. Coming back to school, same. Like the whole thing of the teachers, they're just discussing that the teachers will get a laptop. I mean, if you need to discuss that they should get a laptop, and that I get all of that it need to be financed, but that's for me is like no-brainer. We're in 2020. This is ridiculous. And I don't know if that's the whole country, but I just see the small cases in the small town where we live is like, holy shit.
But I will say this: yes to all of that, and when I went to Sweden for the first time 5 years ago or something, I was a little confronted by the no cash thing. Like it confronted me, and it was fascinating to look at. Right? I'm like, where is this coming from? That I'm so like, what do you mean you only take cards? So once I was integrated in, and it was the most convenient thing ever, you know what I mean? I was like, following the bull over the cliff. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just going to not question anything and use my card for everything. But, do you think sometimes these kind of things, because I also am driven crazy by some of these inefficiencies in processes, right? It like literally, that's the thing that drives me nuts. So sometimes I think, what is the value in this, in it being this way? You know what I mean? Does it keep people in the jobs that they have? Is the decision maker, like, what is the value in having it play out the same way with cash or whatever the scenario is, right? Because there has to be something people are getting out of that. And so when I figure, like, if I were to follow that rabbit hole, what are they getting out of it? And sort of, whether it's good or bad, what are they getting out of it? And who really is the decision maker that I would have to have a conversation with to really set the pros and cons and look at the value gained? Kind of like I've responded to you, like, what is the value for me? What's the value for my team? What's the value for my customer? Those are all the things for me that drive decision makers in a way that, has them integrate computers forever, or laptops for every teacher, or whatever it is, right? And I understand there's budgetary constraints, and some of that's a little bit BS to me, right? Because you can prove value almost, instantly.
And this is, I get all the money piece. I mean, we're in a rich society compared to other parts of the world.
Absolutely.
So that, for me, it's not a money question. It's a budget question, which is something else, and it's a political discussion. I get that as well. But if it's like, hey, there are kids out there who need education, who are basically missing out right now because of the system is not providing that. And then it's like, how can we innovate as fast as possible? And there was an article the other day in the newspaper where it was like a teacher had a system. They have had an idea how to do that, but they're not allowed because it's not approved. So it's like it's against innovation, basically. That's for me is when you come from a different world and work with innovation every day, where you change here and change there and do a test here and do a test there, is like, how can this happen in a society like Germany, which is like super good in a lot of things? Yeah, I don't get it. That's the hardest part. Coming back to the initial questions, like that's the hardest part, to come back into your home country when you think completely different.
Yeah,
and that's going to all different topics. It's quite interesting where you see like, and it's the same for my wife. We just have a completely different mindset, but nobody gets that because other people don't see that view when you come from somewhere else, or you have been somewhere else the whole time. It's quite interesting. So
well, you could buy that book for everybody in Germany, The Mindset book, right?
I'm not so good in writing.
I mean, Well, and for me, innovation to me implies there's a past, right? So sometimes I get into, am I innovating or am I creating from a new, which, it's kind of a cheesy question, but at the same time, if I let go of the past and come from what works for me right now, then what do I have? And so, in a lot of the, especially in a lot of the, because I noticed I don't know, so for you in your consulting life and your business life.
Coaching, not consulting.
No, back in the day. Weren't you a consultant at some point, right? I started noticing a trend for myself where I was chronically working in emergency situations. That was my paradigm, right? It's like, throw me into a hornet's nest and I will support. And then I thought, wow, I'm the only common denominator. Or I am not the only, I am the common denominator. And, there's all these fires. So like, am I the pyromaniac here? That's like turning the tables and looking at all this, right? So, so I guess my point is like, my impetus for innovation usually came out of sort of a fire somewhere. And so do you find innovation more from something that's completely broken or from noticing something that's working and, we're going to shift this process for it to be more efficient or blah, 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 blah. Like, do you find most of your coaching with innovation is from a fire or is it from like an insight?
It's both, but more towards the fire perspective, because especially now in COVID time, like people face a situation where they come from being sold out in 2020 to zero income.
Yeah.
So there's something where they need to act right now to survive. So that's one perspective, but there's as well other perspectives where you see that they're looking beyond, and then it's where COVID was just the accelerator of being worse than it was before, and then they use this as an opportunity to move. But it's not as hot from a fire perspective than the other part where it's no income anymore. But what I see as well, at least that's how I use it for my business, like, how can we use this time as an opportunity to do something completely different, to provide value in a different way? That's why I started this reverse mentorship experiment, where I bring these young people together and look into how can we change the way of thinking in connecting leaders of today with leaders of tomorrow and help them to understand each other. So creating a dialogue and learn from each other and with the way of thinking to build a business out of that, which is an interesting perspective. So that's basically innovating on the spot without having the fire.
Yeah.
But
wow.
it's not always from a client perspective, because often it is, like you say, they have a problem, then they are reaching out to others. It's not like, yeah, I have enough time and let's figure out what the future will be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Well, yeah, and I have, to your point, I have heard a lot about companies sort of taking advantage of the time and offloading lots of people that they weren't handling, right? So they had people that they weren't working, and they, for whatever reason, it seems like terminating or transitioning is, something that businesses have a somewhat challenging time doing, right? So I've heard about a number of companies really embracing this time for just handling what they haven't handled, I guess is how I'd summarize it. So what do you think about that? Do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, less in my business, because for me, it's what I have focused. I'm just focusing on dream customers. I'm not for everyone. So I don't want to work with the big ones, because they're way too complicated and way too slow for my way of thinking. So that's that. I mean, we have talked about that in the past. For me, it's more if I want to work, I want to work with people who are excited in doing things, excited and fast movers. And that's not everyone who can or will be doing that. But it's hard.
Okay, so I'm interested. What is the profile of your customer?
My customer.
Yep, I want to hear.
I mean, my dream customer. So my dream customer are small and mid-sized businesses, and it's when I talk about coaching, it's the owners or the C-suite level. People who are willing to do the extra mile and are willing to change things straight away. That's number one setting. So people with authority and the willingness to move, and then it's they need to be active. They need to be willing to move. I said already, but it's like creative and very active, positive thinking about the world, and in need of structure, in need of a framework that helps them to do it step by step. So kind of they need someone who helps them to show the bigger picture and give them the opportunity to see what they already have done and how they can build on it. And I've done that a couple of times where I see that's the most successful and for me the most fun. So if I enjoy working with that person, then it's the most success most of the times, because then we build up a relationship, and out of that relationship they trust me, and then they move on even faster. And that's what I'm starting to narrow that even further down, where it's like I'm only working with people I really like to work, because I'm not there to convince you the whole time. You should innovate. You should innovate. You should innovate. Then I might earn money with that, but I lose energy in this. So I rather focus on the people who are saying, hey, I want to innovate. How to do that? Help me. I have this big idea. I want to change the world. Let's figure out how to do that. That's more the world I'm in. Not like, we're a 150-year-old business and we need to change something, but nobody wants to change. So how to do that? I could help with that as well, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. You want to start at the point where people are a yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the starting point.
Yeah.
And even to the way that I'm earning less money with some clients because it's fun. So for me, it's not about the money. It's more about how can I help them to do stuff, and then we find a way of how we generate something that makes sense for both parties going forward.
How long do your engagements usually? How long are they usually?
The average, I would say, is like 10 weeks, roughly. So a bit depending on if you go through all the different steps, like 12 weeks. And that's like basic, but it's also often out of that, it's a long-term relationship where it's then, hey, we have worked now extensively on this, and now it's moving forward, and then there are touch points afterwards, which are not part of the initial package. But it's also because it's getting to a friendship level where you work with each other and just chat and figure out, hey, I have this. Have you heard about that? Getting in touch and staying in touch going forward as well.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what about you?
Regarding coaching?
Yeah. How do you work with what are your dream customers?
So from a coaching standpoint, I coach 4 people only. And this is somewhat, I would consider it separate from my like individual coaching is what I'm referring to right now. I am a firm believer that people have the majority of their own answers. And so I, like you, I don't coach, I tend to focus more on people who have a level of success that I'm not a motivational coach. I don't do motivation. You bring your motivation, right? And then I also believe that pretty much how, how we do one thing is oftentimes how we do many things, right? So like 80% of the time, if not 90. So the coaching I do revolves around how we're being as people, and then how to be that regardless of the content that is happening. So whether it's work or personal life or any of those things. So my individual coaching tends to be only with several people because it takes a lot of energy for that. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. And then separate from that, of course, and that's probably the smallest part of my week. But it almost feels like it takes the most energy. Very strange. But anyway, and then from a business standpoint, I don't know that I'm coaching as much as I'm having fun right now. So
that's the same for me. I'm only having fun. I'm not doing things that are not fun.
I don't know that I'm coaching anybody. I'm just having fun with anything that I'm working with. And so, I'm going with it and I love it. I'm absolutely thrilled to, and it's not that it's not challenging. I also love challenging, but I don't need challenge anymore. It's great to be able to work in a fast-paced, of course there are deadlines and all this kind of stuff, but, be proactive about what I know is coming and really whatever I'm resisting, I'm going towards, instead of like, I used to sort of procrastinate that kind of stuff, like, paperwork or whatever. And now I just think that my attitude has completely shifted, and what I'm bringing to anything is fun, which is, it's so, I even like my old self is like even criticizing myself in my brain right now. Do you ever do that? Where you're like, you can feel your old self creeping in, and I'm like, oh my God, it's true. It's great. And I used to not be so fun, I think, rather be more critical and like driven and forcing things and all this. And that is just not how I want to live anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's draining so much energy.
Yeah.
At least in my experience, was like, why I'm spending so much energy and just talking to myself and figuring shit out. Just go and have fun.
Yeah. So you and I are on the same fun page, I think.
I still remember that.
Well, listen, I'm not having fun running Ironman marathons or whatever they're called, Ironman competitions. I'll take my 10 minutes of sprinting and be super happy with that.
But that's everyone needs to have his focus.
Right? No, I love that. I'm so in awe of the whole Ironman. I'm so astounded by human beings sometimes. And that's
even less than what other people are doing. I was just finishing an audiobook where a guy was running ultra marathons.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I was thinking I am crazy, but these guys are running for 35 hours or 39 hours or 40 something hours. Yeah. That's different.
That's so crazy.
That's really, because I was knowing when you do this long stuff, Ironman things, then I know it's like 60% body and 40% or 50-50. Like there's a lot of brain, which gives you the possibility to do that. But when you do this, then it's really, it goes towards, I don't know, maybe 70% brain in the end, and the rest, the body will function, but your brain will switch off. So you need to convince yourself, why are you doing that? And that's the mental toughness and the mental strength you gain out of these things. That's the interesting piece, which hooks me, where it's like, how do you get to the level of sustaining something for just sit down for 45 hours or 38 hours, you will die. Like, it feels like if I'm sitting here now for, let's say, you will tell me I need to sit here for even 8 hours, I'm dying. Or I feel like dying.
Yeah.
So just the mental focus and the training you need to do to get to that level. That's the interesting part for me, where it's like, how do you get to that level and then into a flow state, which allows you to sustain that?
So the first marathon I ran, I did not really train for it at all. And I was in very good shape back then. And I was running along, and it was like mile 18 or 19, I want to say. I mean, I was like, wow, this is a lot. I was not mentally, I was like, just get to the finish line, but I was like, oh my God, this is a very big challenge. Like, I kind of underestimated it, right? I definitely underestimated it. So I'm running along, and this woman is like, hi, how you doing? And I was like, well, this is a long way to go. And she was like, yeah, I got to tell you, I always get to this point, and I'm always fascinated that I keep going. She said, but honestly, I'm so driven by when I was a child, my dad said, hey kids, we're going to go on a run today. And she's like, and he put us in a 50 miler, and we finished. So she's like, I was 15 at the time, and my dad's like, we're doing this race. And so it was her brothers and her dad, and she's like, and we all ran 50 miles. And honestly, it was the greatest inspiration for me at that point, because I thought, wow, I could have 32 or 31 more miles to go, and I only have 7 or 8. So, or 6 or 7 or whatever it was. So it really, it helped me, get through, because whatever point that is when you kind of hit the wall or whatever that is, I think I was there. Well, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe how long this race is. Because the longest one to then I had done was like a 10K, I just threw myself in kind of deal. But anyway, so I just always, and I've actually referenced that a number of times in my life when it's been, crazy work or something like that. I think about that lady in the 50 miler, and I'm like, wow, human beings can do this. If they can do it. It's really, we're miracles. So yeah, it's really a mental conversation.
And that's a bit, sometimes you just need to step back and see it from a perspective where, hey, that's not that hard.
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be. It feels like, but it's not really, if you're true to yourself.
Well, and the truth is, as lots of times I separate things into facts and my interpretations. And if I look at the facts, I ran 26 miles, or people run 50 miles. My interpretations around it are like, what is either going to have it happen or not? Yeah. I can go, oh my God, 26 miles? Am I insane? Like crazy? Or 26 miles? I mean, yeah, sure, I should probably train for this next time, but it's totally doable.
Yeah,
or whatever. The interpretations will either win it or lose it, right?
Now, I was checking out your Instagram profile, and I was asking Dennis that the last time as well. So there is an old photo where you're lying on the floor with a couple of kids or people, and it's from 2013. So it's quite a while ago. So it says the pod team and creativity session. Let's see what they come up with. Or POD team. I don't know how you pronounced it. Tell me the story. What's about that?
So I, as I said earlier, I ran a nonprofit that looked like an after-school mentoring program. And I have a deep belief that children sort of have all the answers, right? So it was my such a blessing to be able to have created this space where children can, at really any level, and the diversity of life is where it worked best. So it didn't matter where they came from, what their background was, or any of those things. But putting them together and asking them, giving them some tools around what they bring to any equation. But it's all inherent tools. So whatever their sort of greatest, like literally whatever our greatest within us, nothing physical, but whatever we bring to the table are sort of our gifts, right? So Playground of Dreams is what Pod is. And it is, it's where you can expose your greatest gift and bring them to the table to play with your friends and really thrive and be your best self no matter what's going on around you. So that's what Playground of Dreams is. And it's in that case, it was kind of bridging people who had created success in, the arts in particular, singing, sports, whatever it is, and putting them together with kids that have a dream in this regard. And so, because everybody wants to give, and it's like everybody wants to contribute to each other. It's about putting the resources together, right? So we would have mentors that are great singers or actors or whatever, working with kids that have a dream for that. So putting those resources together and then creating from that place. Mm. So if I was lying on the ground with kids, that's what I was usually doing, is some form of lying on the ground with kids or silliness or whatever it is. And then out of that, my greatest lesson from all of that was that the entire time I was being given to, so like the lifting experience from being in contribution is undescribable.
Yeah, I was just to that point. Was it reading or listening? I'm not sure, because I'm reading and listening to audiobooks the whole time and mixing that. There was one saying that it's that you need to focus on giving rather than taking, and then you will create change in the world. And that sounds of course you should. But then when you're in a business setting, when you're running a business, that's not really often the focus. Often, at least what I see with my clients and with the people I've worked with before or in a large corporation, is more about how can we earn money? How can we take rather than give? It's similar to what you just explained.
Yeah,
it's really on focus on giving, and you will be given afterwards.
Yes. Yeah, and I think especially if people are not attached, for example, if somebody says, "Hey, will you coach me? I really want a red Ferrari." I'm not their coach. I'm not.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? I'm not their coach.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. Go find a coach that has a red Ferrari, and then you will have a red Ferrari. Right? So it depends the outcomes that people are interested in. And I think what you're saying, based on your business, is simpatico, right? You're interested in having a work life where you experience what matters to you, and then the outcomes are in alignment with that, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You might, it just depends what matters to you.
Yeah. And that also fits to the dream customer. If you know whom you want to hang out with, then that will give you energy in the same way. When I always call you the virtual reality queen, because you're at least in my surroundings, you're the queen of virtual reality, the one who knows everything. Compared to me, I don't know anything. You're the first person who brought me into virtual reality in a gaming sense. I still remember that when we have been in the office where the office where you need to take shoes off.
Yeah.
And then you put me in house like this monkey game where you are standing on the top of the skyscraper.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
So what if you could get a virtual reality experience for everyone in the whole world to experience, what would that be and why?
For everyone to experience. Ooh, that's a good question. I this doesn't. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. But I think that I would love to have a virtual reality experience where people could use it to experience what really matters to them. And so to have a, my brain is going to, how do I design this? How do I design this? Because
I see that in your face. Like,
I like, that is limiting for me, right? It's not a creation space. It's a confining space. So if there was a virtual reality experience where I can say, it's a little bit like the Matrix, where you go in and yes, the Matrix is all about gun racks coming out and all this kind of stuff. But like, how can I create an environment people can go into where they can experience a space that has them be free and that they can, and whether it's in a jungle, in the ocean, like for me, my happy place is being underwater, diving, being with, in just experiencing manta rays and whale sharks and coral, and like that's just, I love it, right? So I can't be in that all the time, but I can be in a virtual reality experience that provides that for me. So being able to really simulate environments so that people can have an experience of their dreams and not have to be in, like, I can't exactly get to, Fiji or wherever I want to experience that. The other thing that I've thought about before that I would love to have is to be able to stand on any corner or any street or any place in the world and put a headset on and be able to fast forward what has ever happened at that location.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like Google Street View 5 years back, 10 years back, 5 seconds back.
1,000 years ago. So I first thought of this actually when I was in Germany. I was in Germany for Christmas markets 2 years ago. And Christmas markets are my favorite thing around the holidays. And you've been to them, right? You understand the glory of Christmas markets. Yeah. And I was standing I was standing there and I'm like, wow, I would love to know what's ever happened from this corner. It was like some corner and I thought, wow, what if I created an immersive experience in VR where I could stand anywhere and it would play out?
That's something to create.
I hope somebody does.
That would be a cool invention mix. Definitely. So slowly coming to
please, will you answer the question for me? What is the virtual reality experience you would like to experience?
Yeah, of course. Let me think of. Good question. It's hard to answer if you're not really into the space of virtual reality. But if it's more about experience, is what I love is how do you manage to understand the perspective of other people? Because I have been living in different places around the world, and let's say East-West conflicts are often, if we just take this as an example, are often based on fear, which means people don't understand the different cultures, the differences, and then it's polarizing. And we just see this in politics right now. Not saying US. So it's so what if there is a virtual reality opportunity that helps people to understand the viewpoint of the other people, of how they can see the world? Mm-hmm. So an example is, I was a couple of years back. I moved from Germany to Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people said, "Hey, how can you move to Russia? It's dangerous." Well, I was saying that that's ridiculous. It's not dangerous. It's a different culture, and I get that from a history perspective that they're kind of not understanding each other. But then when you live in a place, you really get to love the people. You see their perspectives. You understand their cultures. You see that that's not matching to the view the other side of the world has about that culture. And I guess that's the same for a lot of other cultures and a lot of other topics as well. So what if you could create a virtual reality experience to get into the kind of shoes or the viewpoint of the other out of my head? Would be interesting.
I love that.
Let me check what else do I have here. Last bigger question. In a year from now, so it will be November 2021. Where are you and what happened?
Where physically I am is you know, I don't know where I really don't know, but some possibilities are LA, New York, New Zealand is our three strong possibilities. And the second part of the question was exactly what? What am I doing?
Yeah. What happened?
Oh, what happened?
So if you're in New Zealand, what happened?
I am creating basically I'm creating a new business there, which I can't say more than that. And I really, you know, I don't know if you've been to New Zealand. I highly
Unfortunately
recommend.
not.
I highly recommend. I think what has happened is I think I will have been able to hug people again and be near people and I think that's the key for me is like, I want to be able to hug my friends and my family. And so by then I believe I will be able to hug my friends and family. And
not if you're in New Zealand, except they're coming with you.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I might have new friends that I can hug. But you know, through the course of the year, I will have seen my friends and family and been able to be connected to them and physically. I think that's I think it will have the consequences of this time are going to grow larger as longer as it proceeds as is. And so I think it's, you know, obviously super important that we are giving in a way that has this pandemic settle down more and vaccine comes around and all that stuff. So I think a deeper level of connection amongst people will have happened by then. I think that I really think fundamentally that there's going to be some big changes in the way that our everyday looks based on another year of what we've been up to going on. So I think hopefully what will have happened is I get to be in service and contribution in a way that I can't imagine what is right now. I hope that happens. You know what I mean? Where I don't know what has happened, but I do know that I've had an opportunity to be in service and contribution in a way that I've never known before. So that's, that's not saying anything at all. And I'm okay with that.
That's nice. That's good. No, that's good. So imagine there are people out there who are listening to this and saying like, holy crap, I need to reach out to her. I need to build this virtual reality experience or whatever. How can people reach you?
I am on the social media under my company, Reedeux, RIEDEUX.com. I can reachable through that, through either the website or the social media around it. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
People will be watching this? No,
no, I hope it will be millions or two, like you and me.
I am thrilled to be able to have a conversation with you today because we've been trying to do this for so long. So
yeah, we need to have an official reason to talk again.
I mean, well, you haven't told me about you in a way that, maybe you don't want on camera or whatever, but I want to know more about what you've been up to.
No, we definitely, and we can cut now if you want, and then we take that part.
Okay, all the best stuff will be after we cut. So
yeah, exactly.
I know that.
No, cool. Let's finish now, and then we can talk fun stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land. Magical, magical land. To another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical